Today in WorldBox, I spawned humans across this giant Scuffed USA map, and we'll put them in a battle royale. This is the Scuffed USA Battle Royale. I've spawned all these humans on this map, and now there may be some spots. Let me fix that real quick. All the humans are spawned in the not-so-50 United States. But now, I want to send them all to develop for 100 years, and then they'll go to war. And as soon as they build up their civilization and build up a big enough land base, I'll see where they're located, and I'll name them after a state. And let's get going. But also for this first little bit, I'm going to put it to sonic speed. Ooh. You can see all the territories getting taken up. We got that main area. We got basically the entirety of Minnesota right there. I want to name that Minnesota real quick. I like Minnesota. If you know, you know. What year is it? Is year 16 and will continue. It will be a while before anyone gets any massive numbers since I have turned diplomacy off. But as soon as it hits the 100 years, I'm going to name them all after the land that they're based in. And we're going to see how they participate in the War of the Worlds. Well, at least this world. Where each of them will be a state. To their best extent, because, this is just the tip of Texas. And that's Florida. We got an Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. We also got an Iowa. We got Maine. We got New York. The Virginias. Georgia. California. What would be Oregon. Another thing. Nevada. New Mexico. Yeah, this place is really coming together. Who knows, I might even time-lapse another 100 years of development. Because you never know who will win this. Oh, it has passed the year 100. I'm going to turn off sonic speed. And I am going to name all these places after the location that they're based on. And I'll be right back. Now I have named every single one based on their region that they currently control. We got many of the states, but do we have all? No, unfortunately not. Either the map's not big enough, or it's not accurate enough and I'm not spending that much time to make this just for a video. The only state that is split in two is California, having a northern and southern part, as well as the Carolinas being combined, as well as the Dakotas right over here. But after that, I will now develop them for another 100 years until it is year 200, and then we will finally decide who is the greatest state that is here, at least. It is now year 200 in the Age of Hope, and they have developed, they have morphed, and now the states are ready. I will now set diplomacy on. And now we will watch the world, or more like the states, develop into chaos, and see who wins amongst them. And there we go, the wars are starting to go. Now it is, the first one I saw was Nebraska versus Iowa. Iowa is most likely going to win that. And as soon as there are a few states left, I'm going to slow it down so we can watch the full chaos unfold. We got Northern California over 100 and South California being some of the biggest ones. We also got Washington with over 200. We got Wyoming at 140. Minnesota also at 140. Wisconsin falling to Minnesota. Ha. Maine was having a good thing, but then it was losing some places to Carolina. And what's this place over here? Tennessee, that's what it is. Iowa's doing really good as well. Texas is just stuck there. Alabama's there, and it took over Florida. Northern California took over Southern California, and it's now taking over New Mexico. Washington's at 400. Minnesota's nearly at 330. Carolinas are at war with, not Iowa, Tennessee, that's what it is. They're taking each other over. Tennessee just split the Carolinas in two. Texas is just there doing nothing. Same with Montana, they're just surviving. But if I was to bet on anyone to win, it would probably be Washington, because they're at the 500 range now. And Iowa's just getting massacred from all sides. They're going against Northern California, not Southern, but yeah. Minnesota's declaring war. Who are they going against? I think they just declared war on Montana, trying to build up what they got. Carolinas are nearly at 400. Minnesota's also at almost 400. Texas is just sitting there. Mississippi's nearly falling. I am changing this. Hold on. Time has been slowed. As we see, Minnesota and the Carolinas are at war. And Minnesota's going to take over really big regions over here. Carolina's nearly at 700, but it's at like 650. And now that they're done in the south, they're going to go up to the north. Even though Minnesota, being the most northern state, or at least one of the most northern, because then there's Maine and Alaska, but that's not included in this. Washington's nearly at 800. Washington just had a big population boost. They're nearly at 900. And it's just going to be Minnesota versus the Carolinas right now. Oh, I didn't even notice. Washington. It got a big power boost because it took over the entirety of California and whatever they had. So now most likely it's just going to be Washington versus either Minnesota or the Carolinas, depending on who takes over. And Texas is just sitting here doing nothing. While the Carolinas do have... Oh, let me see the statistics of this war. So it looks like Minnesota has lost the fewest casualties, but they are less in military and population. But hopefully with some of these takeovers, they will soon get the power that they need. They are getting ever closer to the same amount of population, while Washington just sits there bathing in 1,000 people. And Texas has gained a population of 67. No, the Carolinas are taking over Minnesota. Minnesota doesn't have the army necessary to take over their lands again. Carolina's almost nearly at 800 population now. Though it looks like Minnesota is taking back some territory, or at least it's trying to. And there it goes, it took back what it originally had. Ooh, and it took over that. Minnesota's at 630. Carolina's under 500 now. Minnesota taking a surprise twist after losing some mild territory. But they did take over the original Minnesota area. Or was that? Yeah, that was the original Minnesota area. And now they're just in there. And Washington is going to war against Carolina. Yeah, Carolina. Oh, and they took over the area inside of Minnesota. Now Minnesota just needs to fight off Carolina and get as much land as possible so they can be able to take over Washington. It's going to look like it's going to be a Washington versus Minnesota finale. And then there's Texas. But, like, this is just a giant army. All of them from Washington just going to take over the Carolinas. And how is Texas alive? They must be holding everybody else at bay with their guns and Republicans and stuff. But the Carolinas are getting absolutely wrecked. It seems like Minnesota's trying to declare peace with the Carolinas, even though they shouldn't. They should take as much land as possible, but there's only one bit down in this Florida area. And then there's Texas. But Washington at 1,600, Minnesota at nearly 600, but it won't get enough. And that's it. The Carolinas are gone. Washington's at 1,660. Minnesota's at 567. Then there's Texas. I guess it's time. Sonic speed. We're going to see how this goes. Who will declare war? Who will take over the other? I'm rooting for Minnesota. But Washington's not bad either. And Texas, it's just going to survive, honestly. And they're at war. Minnesota's population's dropping fast, and so is Washington's, but they're gaining more than anything because they're just going to take all this land there. They're taking over the Midwest, and now they're going to take over the Northeast. Minnesota's falling, going under 300 population, losing so much because of the takeovers. Just look at all that army. There's no way Washington was going to lose this with that much army and that much capability. Then there's Texas. I'm just going to end it here for them. There they go. There's no way Texas was going to win that. Nobody can tell me otherwise. And now, the world is Washington. It all started with Washington, and now it ends with Washington. It really, truly does. And that will be this week's episode of WorldBox. Come back next week for another one, and who knows what will happen. Now, thank you. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and join my Discord, linked below. Now, with that all out of the way, goodbye.